Thousands of Wisconsin families could soon lose access to food assistance under President Donald Trump's signature legislation that passed the U.S. House of Representatives yesterday.
Now, as the bill moves to the Senate to be voted on, one Green Bay woman who once relied on SNAP says she's nervous for the future if the benefits do get cut. New at 4, Samantha Cavalli has more on her story and the impact this could have in Brown County.
Founder of Rooted in Inc., Selena Darrow, shared for nearly 20 years on and off, she was the recipient of SNAP benefits. Her reaction to when this bill passed the House was, how cruel can you be? Selena Darrow knows what it's like to wonder where her next meal will come from. Her mission, to urge lawmakers not to cut SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
With grocery prices being high, people don't have extra money in their budgets, so they are already turning to food pantries, and we're already stretched thin.
Darrow says this isn't about politics, it's about people. She's sounding the alarm on what these cuts could mean for Wisconsin's most vulnerable residents, like those who are disabled, senior citizens, and veterans. It could leave nearly 175,000 Wisconsin residents without essential food assistance.
I continue to fight the good fight. I will not give up on advocating for the voiceless. I mean, I'm strong enough to use my life experience to stand up and speak.
Nearly 3 weeks ago, Darrow and others traveled to Washington, D.C. to advocate against the passing of this bill. Tonight at 5, hear the conversation that she had with Wisconsin Representative Tony Weed. Reporting in Green Bay, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.